Hi there everybody, and welcome to another video. On today's video I have this Mercedes GLA 200D. This is a 2018 model. I'm going to be changing the oil and the oil filter. We'll have a look at topping up some screen wash fluid as well, and we'll check the coolant level and percentage of antifreeze in it. So the filter I'm going to be using, the oil filter, is this Malay one OX153/7D2. So this is a diesel engine, by the way, as I said, the 200D. And so we're going to have a look at the oil capacity now. If you get your manual and you look at the filling capacities here for the oil, it says here the following values refer to an engine oil change, including the oil filter. So you have the different models here: GLA 180, 200, 220, 250, and so on. But we don't have the 200D here. So what it says here is that if your model is not there, all other models 6.5 liters of oil. So mine is not there, therefore it's 6.5 liters. There isn't any more on this end. And also it does show you here what oils to use. So for petrol engines it recommends the 229.3 or ACEA A3B3. For diesel engines it shows you the 2293, 2295 or ACEA C3. And I'm going to be using C3 oil, and obviously 6.5 liters. So having had a look at that, we are now confident how much oil we're going to be putting in. I'm going to start by topping up the screen wash fluid in this car, and that goes on this end here. So I would recommend you to use the proper screen wash fluid. You can buy it from any petrol station, and the reason for that is obviously that if you only put water in there, and now that we're going into winter, sounds a bit gloomy, but we are on the end of August here in the UK, and I don't know how long the nice weather will last. But anyway, as I was saying, if you only put water in there and comes winter, that water can freeze and it's not going to be coming out your jets. So I need a bit more in there, but yeah, this screen wash fluid can withstand up to minus 20 degrees C. So you can buy, I normally get the concentrated one like this and I mix it myself, but that's because I'm all the time using fluid that works out a bit cheaper for me. But if you buy the ready mix one, just keep it in your luggage compartment and you can top up that accordingly, because it's very useful. Obviously it's essential, especially on a winter's day driving in a motorway or something like that. You get splashed a lot of rubbish and you need to clean it. Also, I don't recommend putting in there washing up liquid mixed with water, because it can be very foamy and it also freezes. So just get some proper stuff. And I'm gonna get some more, but we're going to then move on to our coolant, and our coolant goes in this tank. Now I had the car running for about 10 minutes to warm up the engine a little bit and the oil, so it drains a little bit easier. So this is not going to be hot, but if you were working on a car that's been driving for more than half an hour or so, it can be very hot, and so you want to be careful when opening this cap here. You could always wait for it to cool down, because you don't want scalding water coming out here on your face. If you are going to open it when it's hot, make sure you press it down as you open it and it releases the pressure slowly, but I don't recommend it. Just wait for it to cool down. We open that and you can look in there. You can see that white, like a T shape line in there, and that is more or less where the the level of the coolant should be at. If it's below that, you may want to top it up a little bit. If it's a little bit well below, but a bit more than below that, the car will tell you to top up some coolant anyway. If you found that there wasn't any coolant in here, you can actually see the tank. You can see the orangey color on that tank. If there wasn't any, this tank would look just white, clear, something like this. And then you do want to definitely top up, or you may want to find out why you haven't got coolant. So you may have a leak somewhere. With this little gadget here, we can sort of measure the percentage of antifreeze in this car, or any car obviously. Let me get a proper, right. Sometimes when it's cold, my gadget isn't working as well as it used to, but we'll try to let it settle. Right, yeah, my needle is getting a little bit stuck. Well, that is reading around -20 there. Usually I would measure about -30 on these cars, but I haven't sucked enough fluid in there. You can see there's still a bit of a bubble there. Actually, I may try to suck it with my 2 hands. Okay, that's a little bit better. -34, almost -35. That is around, that is the most common mark that I get of antifreeze percentage. So that would mean that it will have to be -35 degrees in order for this fluid to freeze. Now obviously if you're in the North Pole, you will need a lot more than that. I don't know, -50, -60. And if you're in a very hot country, you still want to have something like -20 there, or -30. And the reason is that the antifreeze has elements, minerals and whatnot that protect your engine from corrosion. So obviously if you were in a very hot country and you only have water in there, that water will corrode your engine, which is why you still want to have some of the antifreeze in there. So luckily here in the UK, it doesn't get to -50 degrees yet. So I'm happy with that, and we can go ahead and refit that back in there. And always careful when you close this cap. It has a little mark somewhere here. Let me just show you this one here. You can just see it on the cap. So we're going to close this. Up to that point where it just stops. You can see the little mark and it stops there. The problem with this cap is that sometimes you can force it and it goes, that bit goes over. So you can see it when it stops there. And now we can move on to our oil filter and drain the oil from underneath. And just before I start, I may not have mentioned, but they do recommend 0W30, 5W30 or 5W40. And in this case, I'm going to be using 5W30. Right, so to get started, we need to pull this cover out. And this cover is plugged into some mounts there. So we just need to pull it up. 4 points there, holding it. 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5. Actually, there's one more there, which goes there. And we have the bigger ones here. I usually like to put a little bit of grease on these because sometimes they get so stuck that when you pull it out, the whole rubber comes out. Right, I'm gonna start by pulling the dipstick out a little bit and opening the oil filler cap here. Just gonna leave it sitting there. just to allow some air into the system while we drain the oil from underneath. And our oil filter is sitting right here, so we're gonna need a socket around about that size to remove that. So this is the socket I'm gonna be using. Just got it there so we can see, because the light is hitting at it. Its size is 76 by 14. So we can put that on our filter. That should sit in there nicely. And then we can crack that open. And it should be fairly easy to crack that open, because usually it's only tightened to about 25 Newton meters. If you have a torque wrench, it's a good idea to have a torque wrench if you don't do this frequently. Obviously I do this frequently, and I do it by feel, not so much with my torque wrench anymore. Right, now I'm gonna pull that out and just be aware that some oil will be leaking. So there's our filter, and I'm just gonna put that on the side, let it drain a little bit. And obviously you're going to need an oil pan for when we drain the oil. So now it's just a matter of getting the car up and draining the oil. Looking at the car from underneath, we need to remove this cover here, and you need to remove these 8mm screws, and there is 7 of them. So 8mm screws, and once you release them, we should be able to slide this cover, and it probably fall, but that's how it comes out. It just slides, as these bits are hooked in as well. Now we can put that to one side. I'm gonna get my oil filter out now. Get our oil pan ready. And here is our sun plug bolt, which we need to open with a 13mm socket. Okay, I've got my 13mm socket there, and we can open that. Again, it shouldn't be that tight. Now make sure your oil pan is sitting under there. It'll probably spray out like so, so calculate accordingly. Sometimes when changing oil, things get messy whether you want to or not. And another thing to remember, same as your coolant, if the engine's been running a lot, the oil can be very hot and you don't want to burn yourself. So do use protective gloves, or again, just wait for the car to cool down a bit. So you can see that sprayed out a little bit too much. All right, okay, now we can let that drain, and we can prepare this and our oil filter. Okay, while the oil is draining, we can prepare our filter here, and we need to pull this filter out and also get the O-rings out. So these O-rings, get them out. You're gonna get new ones on your filter kit. Here's the new ones. It's 3 of them, by the way. So there's one here as well. If you're using a pick tool like this, which is very pointy, when I was just doing that, if it slips by any chance, there is a chance that sometimes you stab yourself. So be careful when you use this kind of thing. It happens to me more often than I wish. Right. Now what we could potentially do is rinse this housing. Just rinse it a little bit with some, I've got brake cleaner here, which is good for rinsing oil. Just giving it a quick clean, that's all. And we have our new filter. You can slide all the way in there. And then we have our O-rings. Make sure that goes in the correct groove down here. Sometimes can be mistaken with a groove at the top. So make sure it goes in the correct groove there. Okay, and now I'm just going to put a bit of multi-purpose grease around this O-ring here so it slides nicely when we are screwing this on. You can use a bit of oil as well. I just put it all around the O-rings, and that is basically ready to go back in. And here's our sun plug bolt, which has got a washer in it. That copper washer. We can also replace it. And the size of that copper washer is basically this here. 14 by 20 by 1.5 millimeters. If you search that online, you shall find a lot of copper washers. I use them all the time, which is why I have a few. Right, everything is ready. So now just gonna wait for the oil to finish draining, and then we can put that back. Okay, I am going to fit my sun plug bolt back in there now. And I'm going to use a torque wrench to tighten these two. Somewhere in between 35 and 40 Newton meters. So my torque wrench is set to 35. And that's it. Now we can rinse the area. Leave it nice and clean as it was. And now I'm going to fit the bottom cover back, and then we can lower the car. Now it's time to get our filter back on. So we got our O-rings on there, 3 of them, and a new filter. So we can confidently fit that back in there. Put it in by hand, make sure it's going in the correct sense. It will get hard, but at least you've known that the first part is going in straight. Now we can use our socket. And also you will notice that on top of this cover it's written, not that we can see it, but it is written 25 Newton meters. So have a look at that if you're curious. extension there. So if you have a torque wrench, obviously go ahead and use it. Okay, that's it. And now we can top up some oil. So if you have a funnel, go ahead and use it. Unless you're very good at aiming. So this is what I'm going to do now. So I'm just going to put my oil in there. It's going to be 6.5 liters of oil going in there. So that's going to take a little while. Right, oil is in. And now we can put the cover back on here. And we can go ahead and check our dipstick here. We're gonna give that a little clean before we check. So looking at my nicely cleaned dipstick here, you may notice there are two marks here, one that says min in there and another one that says max in there. So since we just changed the oil, we're gonna be aiming to be obviously at the area of the max. Now don't be surprised if when I check the oil, this is reading a little bit high, and that's because once you run the engine, some of the oil will go into the oil filter housing here and it will remain there, and sometimes that can be up to half a liter that remains in there. So let's check this oil now, see where we're at. Okay, and that's about right. Somewhere here. It's not actually all the way up here. There we are, a little bit more accurate. It's a little bit somewhere up here. So once we run the engine, that will drop up to about half, and that is where usually Mercedes has its oil, somewhere around there. Most of other cars, the oil will be up here. Right, so we can check that one more time. And there we are. As the oil obviously drains down, it may go up a little bit, but you can see where it is. So now we can start the engine. Make sure that it's in there. So just to recap, we have our oil filter back in there. This is nice and closed. We put 6.5 liters of oil, and our sun plug bolt, we torqued it to about 35 Newton meters. Now let's get this car started. I'm just gonna make sure there isn't any oil warning lamps coming on in here or anything like that. There we are. Engine sounds nice and sweet, and we don't have any warning lamps coming on. And what we're going to do next is we are going to we are going to do the service reset. So in this one, what it says is that the next service for this car it's due in 10 days. You can see that there. So we're going to reset that now. But before I do that, I am going to just switch the car off now. We're gonna close the bonnet, put the cover back on, close the bonnet, and close our door so we don't get any warnings coming in here, and then we can reset it. So to reset the service interval on this GLA, the first thing we're going to do is, in this case I have a button here rather than the key. So if you had the key, it's similar procedure, but you have position 1 and position 2, and the same works with the button. One click, it's, well, one press is position 1 and the second press is position 2. So okay, so now that we established position 1 and position 2, also something to note is that you need to have the mileage showing on your dash there. So if you have something else showing like this, or anything else, could be that, could be whatever, if that is showing, your the procedure is not going to work. So make sure you go to the menu where the mileage is showing. Now I'm going to switch the ignition off. So now we're going to press it once, then press the fun button and the OK button. First the fun button, then the OK. Hold it for a few seconds and then release, and that menu will come up, and that menu says vehicle data, roller test, pad replacement, and assist plus. Now with these arrows here, we go down to assist plus and press OK, and then it says full service, service data, full service. Go down to full service with the arrow again, press OK, and then go down with the arrow to confirm full service and press OK, and then choose the oil grade that you used. In this case, I used the 22931. Press OK, go down to yes and press OK. Go down again, press confirm, press OK. And now wait a few seconds, and it says full service completed. And now if you check your, so now we can just come out of that menu. You can start your car if you want. You can go to the service menu here, go down to assist plus, press OK, and the next service is B5 in 365 miles. And with that, we're pretty much done here. So I hope the video helps. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. We'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.